My man,
What up?
if you actually enjoyed the term hump day, I'd wish you a hump day and say that, the market really, today was one of those days where the question is, did Humpty Hump, not the early 90s rapper that I actually kind of liked, but did he fall off the wall? I mean, what happened in the market today? Was this a case of COVID truly being a harbinger of another wave to come, or was this just a market that I think we were probably hoping for? I mean, the collective we, Guy, you never, but this is healthy in the context of what was feeling pretty silly yesterday. So why are we all freaking out today?
Yeah, lot to unravel there. Number one, I don't know who Humpty Hump is.
How about Young MC? Does that mean anything to you? De La Soul,
Would
LL
that
Cool
be?
J.
No,
I
no. I know. I'm familiar with LL Cool J. I actually even know what LL Cool J. It means
What?
ladies love
Yes.
Cool J.
Well, he had the roundaway girls too.
That's
My
pretty
man.
good that I knew that.
I'm dumbfounded
The
that you knew
Sugar
that.
Cane Gang we talked about tonight on the show. I'm not familiar with their work, but I'm sure
Sugar
they're out
Hill,
there.
Sugar Hill Gang, but
Right,
Rappers
that's what I
Delight
said. Sugar Cane Gang. And you mentioned some sort of panic that you like.
widespread panic, totally different music genre. But a shout out to the Panic fans out there. I mean, who
You asked me a question, and I complete. So as you know, the answer to questions like that are typically a little of both. But instead of answering that way, which is sort of the coward's way out, I'll say, as much as the market needed a sell-off, we haven't seen it. I mean, we haven't seen it for a while now. So to me, it was all about the fact that, the numbers, the coronavirus numbers are at alarmingly high levels. And now you have companies saying, you know what, I understand that the world wants to reopen here, but we have to sort of rethink that strategy. And I think that sort of put a kibosh on a lot of these names that have been doing really well. Now, obviously, we talked about the airlines, and you've been on them for a while. We actually mentioned back in May the buying opportunity in Delta, and we talked about it that night on the show. Was the day that Delta said they were going to reduce their pilots from 14,000 to 7,000. Stock was trading with a 17 handle at a good day, and we said, there's your catalyst. Bad news, good stock action. Stock went from 17 to 38.
35, 36, 38.
38, I think. Here we are a couple weeks later, stock's down 30% in like 6 trading days. We're at 27.5 or something. So in my opinion, you're looking for opportunities to buy this again. And I think you're going to get it in the context of a stock that will trade 2 times normal volume, which is probably going to be close to 130 million shares. And it probably comes in around 22.5, 23. That's how you have to be looking at these things. Opportunistic in terms of where's my next entry point, because you're going to continue to get the bad news, good news, push me, pull you, Dr. Doolittle stuff of COVID.
And what have I said about airline stocks before pre-COVID on Fast Money? I'll remind you, or I'll these are stocks. If you look at Delta Airlines before COVID-19, over the preceding 18 months, had 9 periods of plus or minus at least 15% moves in the stock. These are high velocity stocks. So back to the retail trader and the lemmings that suddenly are getting sucked into some of this stuff. I think a lot of people lost their hands today, and going to the sidelines and rolling into Amazon or whatever the latest update we got from Robinhood was, is not a sign of people taking profits. Okay, because a lot of these folks missed those first few days, and those first few days were really the powerful days. And that's not my point. My point is that you have to be very careful. If you're owning airlines for the long term, I think it's a great trade. I really do. And I think if you don't have to be taking profits and you are not levered, and I don't want to get into the conversations of last week, but it's very important because airlines are a place where people thought this was easy money. Today was exactly the opposite of sentiment on airlines, when New York State is basically telling other growing COVID-19 case states like Florida. And yeah, it is a little bit of a touche when they say, we're going to quarantine your people for a couple months, couple weeks, and don't even bother coming here. Airlines are the first ones to take it on the chin. And I think for the markets, though, let's keep this in the context of what markets have done. I don't think markets should necessarily be here, but the Fed's liquidity is going nowhere. And 2 days ago, I found what the markets was doing were more troubling than I've ever found them during this period, because I think Apple at 370, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, I sold a lot of Apple at 320 and some at 280. So maybe that has something to do with it. But you brought up companies like Disney and some of the other companies that are assessing their corporate messaging here and what they should actually be doing, and that the private sector is more in charge of how the opening of the economy goes than the public sector. I think it's a great point. And I just remember back to when, where I was when I heard the NBA was calling off the season, and where I was when I heard that Apple was closing more stores across the country and basically, closing everything in China. And that to me was the linchpin to the market's response, not on the downside. So I'm just curious what you make of that, because that would be the one thing that happened today that would have me more concerned, other than saying, I think this is a pullback.
That's 100% right, I think. And I'm going to talk about sugar songs in a second, because I think that's important.
Sugar songs?
Yeah,
like the Turtles? Like Honey Honey? You're my candy girl,
Archies,
right? There's
sugar,
the Archies,
sugar.
right? Who are not
what
a
I was
real
going to
band.
ask you was, and I want you to think about this, would you rather take the Archies Sugar Sugar or Pour Some Sugar on Me by Leopard?
You're talking about a make-believe comic band versus one of the great rock and roll bands of all time.
Right, I am. That's exactly right.
Hysteria was, arguably, I think, one of the greatest coast-to-coast albums of all time. I realize that's absurd when people are going to throw at me like Rumors by Fleetwood Mac and Hotel California, but I'm telling you, I got plenty of time. And Pour Some Sugar on Me, because of the era we're in. And I think I was slinging drinks behind the stick at Winston's when that song was playing, almost every night. Yeah, I got a lot of time for the Leopard, but you knew that.
Yeah, I did know that. And I'll take the Archies. And as you probably know, the Archies were the response to, if you recall, the Monkees,
who also weren't real.
Right.
And yet they were. If you were one Archie, which Archie would you be, do you think?
So the Archies remind me of Scooby-Doo for some reason. Like, there's a lot of similarities in going.
Couple babes in the Archies.
This Riverdale show that all the kids are watching on the Netflix or the Hulu or something. So I can't speak intelligently as who I would be as an Archie character, but in the Scooby-Doo characters,
you're Shaggy.
gender notwithstanding, I'd probably be Velma.
Really?
Yeah.
Velma. Is it Velma or Wilma?
Wilma is Fred's wife.
Oh, okay.
In the Flintstones. Okay.
Okay.
But I don't know how we got.
So all right.
This.
So
the government can reopen whatever they want, but if private companies to say, you know what, DJT reopen, that's great, but in good conscience, we can't do that to our employees and our customers. You know what? That to me is a huge deal, and I think you would agree with that.
I would. Growing up, we could collect Archie glasses. I believe in when we bought jelly. I forget which. We're the big jelly makers back in the day.
Well, Smuckers. With a name like Smuckers, it has to be good.
We collect Archie glasses. So speaking of jugheads, do you think that Major League Baseball is crazy? Because here we are talking about Disney reeling it in. And Major League Baseball, despite the fact that both the owners and the players look idiotic and without leadership, has decided to go forward.
Almost by definition, it's a mathematical impossibility for somebody not to test positive. And you wonder how many will it take for them to shut it down, them being baseball. So listen, I would love to put on a Yankee game tonight and sit on the couch and enjoy a 3.5-hour snooze fest against.
Well, I mean, if Gary Sanchez is behind the dish, it'll be at least 3.5 hours, because the way that guy, loses balls, drops balls, delays the game. I mean, it would be 3.5 hours. And I think part of the reason you're actually feeling this anxiety is, that in the 60-game season, the Mets actually will play the Yankees 10% of your season, and we will be in your grill, and we will literally be there to I mean, we're your worst nightmare. It's kind of like that 2000 World Series.
You know what? There's a lot of truth to what you just say, and I'm going to end it on this. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. As a Yankee fan in the 2000 World Series, I was in a no-win situation, because if the Yankees win the World Series, which they did 4-1, which is a bit of a humiliation to the Mets, but you won. You're supposed to win. You're the Yankees. If by some miracle the Mets had won that World Series, hear me out.
Yep.
The Mets could have lost every regular season game from that point to today, go 0-162 in perpetuity. And as a Yankee fan, I would have never heard the end of it. So for me, that was a no-win situation, but I'm thrilled that the Yankees made short work of Los Mets.
So here's how you can win, and let's set this up for a little contest. if the Mets take 6 out of 6 against the Yankees, you carve yourself into a reverse mohawk. And if the Yanks take 6 out of 6 against the Metsies, I'll shave my head. Because you making fun of my hair yesterday.
I wasn't making fun of your hair. I was saying you look like a guy from the Lords of Flatbush. That's high praise coming from me. Well, I'm going to think about this wager because I don't think either one of us win.
We do it for charity. I think
Do it for,
we raise some money.
Do it for Johnny.
Do it for Johnny. Do it and stay golden. I'd like to see you with a reverse mohawk. See you tomorrow.
See you later.